G-Man Boxing. Do you know what I mean? Every single live he donates. I see him on other lives donating. He's got the bag on it.
Alright people, midweek report time, and yeah, just a quick one. I'm probably going to be coughing a bit in this video. That's why I haven't done a video since, well, technically Sunday evening was the last time I recorded. Just because I have a touch of flu. So, you know, yesterday was Tuesday, and yeah, I was bad yesterday. Like, I say bad, I was just weak. Like, my nose is fine, my throat had a little tickle, just a bit of a cough and just feeling weak. That's kind of pretty much the gist of it. And yesterday, like, I mean, boy, the sweat. That was the one thing, the sweat was unreal, you know. You think I was Prince Andrew at another 12's disco, there was that much sweat coming off me, you know. But I think we're through the worst of it now. So there is still a cough, but other than that, we're good. So I missed a lot of things because there was news breaking yesterday that I would have liked to have covered then and there, like Spence Ugas, which I think we'll start on that. We start on that, or we start on Canelo. Let's start on Spence Ugas, right? So Errol Spence, your Danish Ugas, was announced yesterday. Now I'll get it up on the screen here. So it's going to take place on April 16th, AT&T Stadium in Texas. So it's the unification, WBA, WBC, and IBF, and yeah, I am pleased to see that. You know me, I like Errol Spence. I do enjoy seeing him fight. Your Danish Ugas is a good fighter. Now, I think this fight is going to be an extremely competitive fight. I do. I think that when I look at your Danish Ugas, he is a very good fighter. He's an extremely good fighter. Your Danish Ugas, when I look at how he's, because there's highlight clips of Ugas, and he seems to have a knack for landing his right hand on southpaws very well. He looked very good against Pacquiao in his last fight, although saying that was a Pacquiao who'd been out of the ring for 2 years, was 42, retired straight after. But your Danish Ugas, to me, I'm not picking him to beat Errol Spence, but Errol Spence has been out of the ring for over a year. He's had injuries, and it's going to be a worry because his last injury was an eye injury. I think, what was it? What was wrong with the eye? But it was something wrong with the eye anyway. The eye injuries are a worry in boxing because if an eye injury goes bad, it could potentially spell the end of your career. Like we'll say, detached retina. Now, I know that wasn't what happened to Spence, as far as I believe anyway, going into the Pacquiao fight. But, sorry. But, if it's an eye injury, I do tend to kind of worry about them a little bit when it comes to the fighters. But him versus your Danish Ugas, I'd imagine that they're going to look to do Terence Crawford. If they can get Terence Crawford on PBC, if they can get a deal in place with him, they'll look at potentially doing Terence Crawford versus Keith Thurman this summer at some stage, I would imagine, with the view of making undisputed winter time of this year, November, December, you would imagine. So we have that. News recently just broke in the last, we'll say, half hour of Canelo Alvarez. It's now reported that Canelo Alvarez is close to agreeing a 2-fight deal with Eddie Hearn and DAZN worth upwards of $85 million. Crazy amount. Which would see him face Dimitri Bivol next on May the 7th and then proceed to a Triple G trilogy on September 17th. That's according to Mike Coppinger with ESPN. Now, he was also stating that, Mike Coppinger was anyway, that the deal for Charlo was a one-fight deal with Al Heyman, and that was in around the region of 45 mil. Now, the Bivol fight for Canelo will be interesting. I do think that the movement, the skills of Bivol could cause Canelo issues. Having said that, I would expect Canelo Alvarez to win that fight. I wouldn't expect him to have an easy time with Dimitri Bivol. I think that might be one of them fights where Canelo will win. I pick him to win, but it would be one of them where we maybe see a wide scorecard in a fight that's a lot closer than that, if you get me. As for the Triple G trilogy, I wonder will DAZN venture on the pay-per-view with that. They might keep the, I say might, they may keep the Bivol fight on just normal subscription based DAZN. But if he fights Triple G, I wonder would they try and do a pay-per-view with DAZN. Now, of course, the Triple G fight, so say for argument's sake, Canelo does take this 2-fight deal with DAZN. I would imagine the Triple G deal is in place provided Triple G wins, and of course Canelo wins as well. And I would imagine that would mean that there'd be a bit more pressure on Triple G to get the win over Murata over there in Japan. And potentially DAZN may know that, and they may think, you know what, let's get whatever judge we can get out here to try and make sure we get this trilogy fight, because ever since Canelo signed with DAZN all them years back, that's the main fight that they wanted. That's the fight that DAZN wanted. Do you remember at one stage, who was it? Was it when Canelo was looking to fight Kovalev? It was someone from DAZN, and this kind of made me kind of scratch my head. They were saying the 2 fights they wanted for Canelo were the Triple G fight or Masvidal. I remember that well. That was 2019. I forget who that was now. But that was weird back then. They were really... That was at the time when DAZN were just looking to just a subscription whatever way they could. They were kind of doing what Triller were doing. Whoever gets subscriptions, whether it's a good fight or whether it's a competitive fight, that's what we want. We just want subscriptions. So we have that. Interesting reschedule, right? Bacoli versus Yoka has now been rescheduled till May 14th. Now, you may remember they were meant to fight in January, just gone. But obviously, France and, Macron being away with the fairies, that got put on the back burner. I'm just surprised that they pushed it back so far. I know Yoka was looking to take the Hergovich eliminator, so maybe they would have shut up camp or something like that. Maybe they wouldn't have expected to be out until, say, kind of, March time. But I do find it strange that, they were pretty much only a couple of weeks away from that fight. To put that so far in the future, we're talking May, okay, we'll wait and see. I do wonder why they've waited to go that long, because I would imagine both guys would have been kind of winding down camp. So they've had, a couple of weeks off, you would imagine anyway, and now they're back on the road. So, I would wonder why they're not doing that sometime in March, May. That's a bit strange. But look, they have that fight, rescheduled. And they're going to be doing that fight on May the 14th in Paris. Look, I like the fight between Yoka and Bacoli, to be honest, which I do. But I would have liked to have seen Hergovich versus Yoka. I think that would have been a better fight. Because Hergovich, it's reported by Dan Raphael that Zhang has accepted an offer. Of course he would. He's got nothing else to face Filip Hergovich as the IBF final eliminator. Winner will be mandatory for Alexander Usyk. And look, right, I wasn't surprised Zhang took that, because what does he really have? He's in his late 30s now. He's not been looking good as of late, and that's his only real shot at even getting close to a world title. So I get that he's taken that, but in terms of sheer competitiveness, I would personally have rather have seen Yoka versus Hergovich, because I think Zhang is going to get absolutely ironed out in a couple of rounds by Hergovich. Zhang, was it Jerry Forrest he fought, and he looked absolutely he dropped him a couple of times, but he went from dropping him 3 times. Think like this, right? Eubank Jr. dropped Liam Williams 3 times and still won the fight reasonably comfortably in a 12-rounder. This guy it was Jerry Forrest, wasn't it? It was actually, it was Jerry Forrest. He had him down, or was it Jonathan Rice? It was Jerry Forrest, I think. Or was it Jonathan Rice? It was one or the other. He had him down each of the first 3 rounds in a 10-rounder and ended up getting the drop. You don't see that happen too often. So we have that. Tyson Fury. Now here's an interesting one, right? I seen a clip of him. In fact, pop it up on screen just there. A clip of Tyson Fury doing some training out in Dubai, and I'll be the first to say I know Tyson Fury is never going to be the body beautiful type. I know that he's not that type of guy. I think even if you were to get Fury in the best of shape, which was kind of, you're talking kind of Klitschko fight kind of time, even then he was still carrying a bit of flesh. I get that. But in that clip there, he doesn't look particularly good in terms of aesthetically. You know, that gut is a lot more fleshy than I'm used to seeing it. Like, even in the Wilder fight, I don't think it looked quite so fleshy. So one would have you wonder if he is, like, and obviously he isn't training, but how serious is he taking training? And how heavy did he come into training camp? If we'll say he's been training for X amount of weeks. If he still is, then maybe he's looking to employ, you know, the same tactics he did against Deontay Wilder. Come in the 270s and just try and put it on Dillian Whyte. Against Deontay Wilder, that would work. I think against Dillian Whyte, you're going to want to employ a little bit more movement and a little bit of more front foot fighting. I think there's a time and a place for both if you're Tyson Fury. Whereas Deontay Wilder, it's a different story altogether. You know, Fury, that kind of thing will work against Deontay Wilder. Against Dillian Whyte in the pocket, that's going to be interesting. In terms of Tyson Fury as well, I seen during the week he made an absolutely outlandish claim about Alexander Usyk, saying that Alexander Usyk is on par with Thomas Adamek. Yes, the Thomas Adamek who got knocked out cold by Eric Molina, who got ironed out by Vitaly Klitschko, whose best win at heavyweight was probably Chris Arreola. In retrospect, and looking back, that Thomas Adamek who got absolutely steamrolled by Jarrell Miller as well. Yeah, he's on same par with Alexander Usyk. That's such a silly claim. Like, that is actually such an outlandish claim. Like, Adamek was a light heavyweight who won title. I think he beat Chad Dawson at light heavyweight. Won a cruiserweight title. He'd no business being a heavyweight. He'd no business up there at heavyweight. He was not a particularly good heavyweight. Usyk is just... If they met prime for prime at cruiserweight, what round does Usyk stop Thomas Adamek is the question. That's what I'm saying. What round does Alexander Usyk stop Thomas Adamek? I don't know where Fury's coming with that statement. I really don't. But look, we need to just see what happens with him and Dillian Whyte. There is talk potentially of that fight happening in Wembley Stadium. We shall wait and see. We shall wait and see how that goes. You know, I reckon that Tyson Fury will win that fight, but I do believe that it will be tougher than people think it will be. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see Fury get dropped in that fight. I really wouldn't. I think he'll win. Think he'll beat Dillian Whyte. Might even stop him. Probably will stop him late. But it's going to be a fun fight while it lasts. It's going to be entertaining. It's going to be one of them fights. A bit like the Wilder. Might not be as entertaining as the trilogy fight with Wilder, but it could be one of them fights where, you know, you're talking a lot of back and forths. Eddie Hearn has actually revealed that Derek Chisora, right, his next opponent potentially could be Luis Ortiz. God almighty. Luis Ortiz versus Chisora. So you have Chisora, who after Parker looked to be kind of showing signs of a decline. Significant. Punch resistance didn't seem the same. Just didn't seem to be the same fighter. Yeah, he had moments of success. Very few moments of success in there against Parker. But him against Ortiz looked shocking against Charles Martin. He really did. But he managed to get the win. That's a real... Like, that fight right there, if Chisora has anything left, I'd pick him to beat Ortiz. I think he'd outwork him and stop him. I do. I think Luis Ortiz is finished, man. Like, he is... I think Ortiz is done. I think Luis Ortiz has not only seen better days, he's seen better days in the 1990s. Now it's just a case of find a nice rocking chair and, you know, watch the boxing but don't take part in it. That's kind of what I'm thinking of Luis Ortiz now. So, yeah, like, I'm probably going to cut this video short here. That's kind of what's been going on in the middle of the week. I don't want to be talking too long because I still feel a bit you know what. And I just didn't feel good not uploading not talking about these things. So I said I'd get a midweek report in, and hopefully tomorrow I should be back to the good old, and we can get back into the swing of things the right way. But for now, I'll leave you with that. If you could, lads and lasses, smash the like button, hit subscribe if you haven't already. Keep the growth going. It's been going well lately. For now, I'll talk to you.